What this means is that the former Conservative Party leader and Prime Minister Sir John Major is taking the current Conservative Party leader and Prime Minister Boris Johnson to court. An unprecedented situation here in the UK that just goes to show the extraordinary times that we're living through, as well as the controversy that this move by Boris Johnson to suspend or prorogue Parliament for 5 weeks, almost right up until the Brexit deadline, is causing across the board, even within his own party, the governing Conservative Party. Now, Sir John Major, very much pro-Remain. He's been against Brexit and no deal in particular from the start, and he's threatened to do this previously. Now he's saying he will seek a judicial review that will be heard in the courts here in the UK next week, as this, as he puts it, is utterly unacceptable. And that's a view that is shared across the board here. Widespread condemnation of what's been described as a constitutional outrage, a move which by many is seen as solely with the purpose of just trying to curtail the time, limit the options MPs have to try and block no deal. Now, they only have a few cards left to play now, the opposition, particularly with the suspension of Parliament. They were already set to focus on the legislative options that they had, forcing through an emergency law to try and block no deal or force the Prime Minister to request an extension to that 31st of October deadline from the EU, tactics that were successful earlier this year when they made Theresa May do the same, but they'll have to move quickly if they want to do that. There is the option of a vote of no confidence to bring down the Johnson government and these legal bids, but how successful they'll be is unclear, as one injunction has already been denied. What they might serve to do, though, is to show Boris Johnson that there are obstacles in the way of his do or die, we will leave by the 31st of October pledge, in particular obstacles within his own party. He and his supporters, however, would argue that this is just normal procedure. Parliament is always prorogued, or often prorogued, in the autumn, in order, particularly if there's a new administration, in order for them to start a new session and set out their agenda for the year. And he says that MPs have ample time to debate Brexit, as they would usually go on recess during September for their party conferences. So this actually just amounts to a few extra days that they will have off without sitting in Parliament. But of course, this is playing out under the context of Brexit, and there was already talk that parties may not have their conferences or might not go on recess in order to try and figure out a solution, to try and pass a deal. Now, Boris Johnson still maintains he wants a deal. He wants to agree another deal with the EU, saying today that he wants to step up the tempo with negotiations with the EU, and they'll now meet twice a week to try and find a solution to the biggest sticking point, this contentious Irish backstop. Now, that is, of course, the fail-safe that was being put into the withdrawal agreement that stops a hard border from returning between the island of Ireland in the EU and Northern Ireland, which is in the UK. But the onus is on the UK to come up with an alternative, and so far, nothing yet, and the clock is ticking faster than ever.